games, you come to find certain styles of game you like and even certain designers you like. In our case, and in this week's case of our review, it's Stefan Feld and Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah, Castles of Burgundy was the first, probably the first, really, like, Euro game that we ever played. Like, Carcassonne's a Euro game, but this is a Euro game in the truest sense of the word. And it's actually a really good introductory Euro game. So let's check out how it plays, and we'll give you our thoughts at the end of the review. So what do we mean by Euro game in the truest sense of the word, though? So a lot of you guys might not be familiar with the term. So a Euro game is basically a game that is designed for gameplay more so than other stuff. So like a lot of games printed in the Western Hemisphere typically have like really flashy components. They might have like a lot of plasticky miniatures, and it might look really cool. Euro games don't really care about the components. You're usually getting a lot of wooden bits or cardboard bits. You get boards like this that don't have really attractive art printed on them. Castles of Burgundy is not a pretty game by any means. If you were to see it, you'd probably give it the same look that you give a mangy cat that you might find astray.
A mangy cat?
A mangy cat that you might find as a stray on the side of the road. It's not a very pretty game whatsoever.
It doesn't matter how pretty it is, though. It's all about the gameplay, and the beauty of the game itself lies within the gameplay and the strategy that you have to, use throughout the game.
Yeah, and like I said, for a game that is actually relatively easy to learn and simple, even though it might seem a little overwhelming, a little daunting as we go through the rest of the review, the game actually does. It's a really simple game to play, and there's a lot of strategy that's really easy to pick up on and see as you go throughout the game.
Okay, so here we have castles set up for a two-player game. The top board that you see is the main game board where you will acquire tiles and goods, and it has your score track and all of that. The bottom board is your personal player board where you will put things into your little hexes here to gain yourself points and whatnot. We have the dice here, which you roll at the beginning of each round. You have two-player die, you have a white die. The white die dictates where the goods go each turn, and the player die determines what you get to do each turn.
Yep, and the goods are those tiles on the left-hand side of the board there. Basically, every turn, the topmost tile is going to get placed on the central board, and it also acts as sort of a round timer of sorts, because when all 5 of those goods tiles are gone, it ends the current phase, and there are 5 phases in the game total as you go along.
So you see we rolled a 2 here, so we would take the top goods tile here and put it into the 2 depot, and each one of these ones is marked with a different number on the die. So that's how you determine that each round. So
now when it comes to your turn, there are 4 different actions that you can take, and we're going to break those down in a little bit more detail in a second. But the 4 actions you can take are to acquire a tile off the central board. Once you can place tiles that you've acquired onto your personal estate, you're able to sell a cache of goods that you have set up on your board, or you can gain 2 workers. And what does that all mean? Well, let's take a look at the first action, which is buying tiles from the main board.
So one action you can take during your turn is actually purchasing tiles off of the board. You do that by using your die rolls. In this case, we have a 6, so you can buy one of the 2 tiles out of the 6 area on the board. Now, when you buy a tile, it goes into your personal player supply, and your personal player supply only holds up to 3 tiles. So once you hit 3 tiles, you can't acquire any more until you place tiles onto your player board.
So once you've acquired a tile to place in your personal supply, it can then be placed out on your board with another action. That's the second action you take. So in this example, we'll use the other 3 that we rolled on this turn. So the couple rules for placement. So obviously you have to match colors. So you have to only, the beige tiles can be placed in the beige spaces, green and green spaces, so on and so forth. You also have to match the correct number up. So in this case, there's a 3 here, and it's a brown 3. So that means that I'm able to place this brown building tile onto the board in that spot. The other rule for building is you can only build adjacent to tiles you've already placed. So at the beginning of the game, everybody starts with one of these castle tiles somewhere on their estate, and that is the starting point, and you can branch out from there as you go along. The other 2 actions that you're able to take on your turn are to either sell some goods, or you can possibly get some workers. So why do you want to sell goods? Well, how do you sell goods is probably the better question to answer first. So if you roll a number that matches one of your stocks of goods that you have on your board, and you can keep up to 3, you are able to sell all those goods. So let's say that I had rolled a 5. I have this 5 here. I can sell this, so I turn it face down. You get a couple victory points for every goods tile that you sell, and then you also get 1 silverling regardless of the number of the workers or number of goods that you sell. Why do you want silverlings? Well, there's a special market in the middle of the board that you can only buy tiles out of with silverlings. And a lot of those tiles can sometimes be really powerful tiles, or it just might be like an extra boat or something like that you need. And the best part about that is buying tiles with 2 silverlings is a free action. You can do that in addition to the 2 actions that you take on your turn. So that's a great way to get a couple tiles, especially if someone buys all of a certain tile that you need, but it's available in the center of the board. The last thing that you can do is you can trade any die to get 2 workers, and that's generally the I don't have anything better to do action that you can do in your turn. But workers are important too, because as you can have seen probably and figured out, through us doing this game so far, is that you have to roll pretty specific things to be able to get tiles that you want. Well, how do you mitigate poor luck? You do that with workers. So for every worker you spend when you roll a die, you can basically raise or reduce the number on that die by 1. So let's say that I rolled a 5 and I really needed a 3 because I needed to get this thing of sheep that's available on the board. I could spend 2 workers to knock that 5 down to a 3 and then be able to pick up that tile and place it on my board.
So in Castles, there are 6 different types of tiles. Each one has its own specific thing that it does for you. These here are the mine tiles. At the end of each phase, however many mines you have, you get 1 silverling. The castles, if you place a castle gives you an extra action of any type. The ships let you move up on the turn order track, and they also let you pull a good out of one of the depots on the board. The farm area, you get to place animals in here, like here's 3 cows, and you get victory points for the animals on the tile. So if you place the same type of animal in the same pasture, you get not only points for these, but the previous ones that you put in that pasture. These are buildings. There are 8 different types of buildings in the game. They give you a range of different bonuses, from acquiring new tiles off the board to gaining workers, and some even just give you victory points. And these are the knowledge tiles. They can help change the rules of the game. Like this one here lets you do your die roll up or down 1 based on what type of tile is on here. This one here gives you an endgame bonus of 4 victory points per how many buildings of this type that you have. Now, it's also important to note they have these little region bonuses. So, say you place all your ships here in this little region. You've completed this region, and it gets you it gets you 6 points, and depending on what turn you are in the game, it gives you extra bonus points also. Now, if you finish the complete blue, so if you finished all of these with all the ships, you would get a bonus tile that gives you more victory points.
But yes, that's basically all there is to it. Not the most comprehensive rules breakdown. I don't think you guys really want a comprehensive rules breakdown. We'd be here all day.
Yeah.
But it's really not that complicated. You're just, you're buying tiles, you're placing them on the board to get victory points in some way, shape, or form. It's a game where you're going to score a lot of victory points. And that's actually one of the things that I like the most about this game and games like this. So Castles of Burgundy is described as, the term is a point salad game, because you're just earning gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of points as you go along the game. It's not uncommon for a game of this for you to score over 200 points in a game,
which we have definitely done.
Yeah, that's not uncommon, and that's actually one of the coolest things about a lot of Euro games, is that you get this sense of reward, of like accomplishment as you're going along, because you're piling up all these points, and you feel like you're building something, like you see.
Especially if you can pull off like a really good combination of tiles and everything. Oh my god, I love when I get like massive point scores. Yeah, it really makes him mad.
Yeah, you'll put like a building down, which will let you place another building, which lets you get $2, so you can then buy a tile out of the center and then put that on the board. And like you can chain your actions together if you plan ahead and do it right. And like I said, it's really fun. It's great to see your estate grow as you go along the game, and try to catch the impossible dream of filling in all the spaces. Yeah, it's not possible. No. Don't try it.
We've come close.
Yeah, you come close, but eventually you run out of. You just can't get that lucky to get those die rolls.
Yeah,
like that all the time. But so Castles of Burgundy is a really fun game. Like I said earlier, if you're to look at this and just judge it based on its cover, you're not going to be impressed. It doesn't look like an impressive game.
It's very boring.
But it's a great introduction to Euro games. The reason why we love Feld so much is because his games, like I said, a lot of his games are of that point salad motif where you can earn a lot of points. The other thing that is great about his games, and for our purposes especially, is his games scale really well. So like the 2-player experience in Castles of Burgundy is the exact same experience that you'd have as a 4-player game. They don't take out rules, or they don't, shoehorn in really complicated and poor rules just to make it play with 2 players. It works great with 2. It works great with 3. It works great with 4. It's a lot of fun. I love Castles of Burgundy a lot.
I do love Castles of Burgundy. It was our first Feld, and it's actually made us look at Feld games that we hadn't heard anything about before and said, oh, hey, well, let's give this a look-see, and,
Yeah, and that's the thing with designers. So, now, whenever a Stefan Feld game comes out, I don't care if I haven't even heard anything about it. I'm going to at least look into it to see if it's something that's interesting, because I know that I like how his games are. So, we definitely recommend this game to you. It's a great, a light to medium weight Euro game. We thought it was actually, when Emily first got it, she thought it was harder than it is, but you come to find out that it's pretty simple.
Oh, yeah.
As far as strategy games go. So even if you're a beginning gamer, this might not be the first game that I would introduce to a new gamer, but it's something you can definitely introduce early on.
Yeah, because we've actually introduced it to a few friends who were not into the Euro games, and they've taken to it like nothing. So.
Yeah, and it plays really quickly too. That's another problem you might run into with some Euro games, is they might have longer play times. Emily and I can get a game of this in about 45 minutes now. When you first start playing, it might take you an hour, maybe 70 minutes after that. But
this is also because we have a system now for each round when we're breaking down and setting up.
Yeah. So and that's the biggest thing. So like I said, Castles of Burgundy, it's an excellent game. Definitely recommend that you check it out. Thanks again for watching. Reminder, we're part of the Nerdpocalypse Studios. Make sure you check that out, Nerdpocalypse Studios online, to see all of our great podcasts and shows that we have. Until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Emily.
See you later.